Good morning, everybody. Saturday, 10 a.m., week 27. Paul from PB Sports Talk here with you today. Got a full show, lots of graphics, lots of fun topics, lots of good stuff to unpack. We got a lot going on in the world of sports, lots of basketball. Uh, Michigan State fans, Sweet 16 game last night with a chance to advance to the Elite Eight. We'll get to that. LeBron, which I believe on national television this week, imploded yet once again. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Pistons run and where they're at, playoff seeding wise, and 10 games over 500 and things like that. We'll get into change gears to football, right? Football is never out of season. I've got a new top 10 of in my opinion, the top 10 NFL QBs. We'll get to that. And then I have a fun story, which was competitive and which was um, kind of, shall we say, all the chips were down, and I was kind of challenged in 2015 when I was really sick as a basketball coach, and I had a competition with a fellow coach in front of all of the teams at Warrenwoods Tower. I'll get to that at the end of the show. But first things first here, we'll start with well, that's not the right graphic. Let's see what happened here. Michigan State. Um, we'll start. Come on now. There we go. Michigan State. All right. So I think they've had kind of an easy route to get to where they are. But nevertheless, you got to play who's in front of you. You have to beat who's in front of you. Um, Huge Tom Izzo fan. I am very much a Tom Izzo fan. I have always been a fan. I admired him and I looked up to him as a coach my entire coaching career. In fact, just a quick tidbit here. And when I scheduled non-league games, when I was a middle school coach and I was trying to get our team to compete at the highest level and go through all of the March tournament and get all the way to the championship game, what I did in my final year with the organization was scheduled the best possible teams that I could, non-league, around the state of Michigan, east side, west side. It did not matter. I wanted us to play the best, prepare to beat the best, season us for any moment that would come up. And I learned that from Tom. People would always say, "Why does he schedule Duke? Why does he schedule Kentucky? Why does he schedule all of these teams non-league?" Well, so that when you come to this time of year, you're basically the moment isn't bigger than you. You meet the moment and you exceed the moment. So many things about him. I don't know if everybody realizes this because time just gets away from us. And I reminded myself this morning that Tom Izzo is 70 years old. And so this might be one of his final chances as a head coach. It takes a lot to do to do what he's doing. There's a lot of long seasons. They're in the tournament basically every year. The NIL and the portal system has really worn on a lot of the older coaches. They've admitted as much. It's a totally different system now in a totally different league. So it's much, much, much harder to do what Tom Izzo does now more than ever. And so who knows how much longer he can go. Personally, I don't believe this is the best team he's ever had. But sometimes the best team you've ever had isn't always the one that wins it all. Last time he won, I believe, was 2000. He has one NCAA championship. He's been to the Final Four many times, Elite Eight, Sweet 16. I mean, he's known for that. This is an opportunity now for him to get number two. And these guys that he has are a gritty bunch. And he's got a lot of guys that are interchangeable, that are versatile, that can play in big moments. They can play a number of different styles. They're aggressive defensively. They can hit big shots. Um, Very athletic. So this team might be one of the better ones that he's had, but I don't think it's the best ever. But again, I don't think it needs to be the best ever. Um, we'll get back to Michigan State in a moment, but Michigan came up a little bit short last night. And as I was watching the game and I was commenting on Twitter and Facebook, they had some opportunities in that game. And as a coach, that there's certain opportunities in games. So I watch it through a different lens. And there's certain opportunities in a game where you really have a chance, particularly when you're playing somebody that you're the underdog against, that's favored to beat you. And you have to seize on those moments. That's cliche, right? You hear it a lot. It's said in all the sports all the time, but it is true. And there was a 4-minute run there, maybe 5-minute run there near. It was basically to end the first half. They were up by 2, they were up by 4. I think they got up by 5, and then suddenly, kind of all hell broke loose, and they were scattered, and they were trying to make the fancy passes. They weren't making the plays that were there. They were getting a little bit too helter skelter. Dusty May was getting very frustrated on the sidelines. I thought maybe he'd call a timeout. I mean, you had the under 4 timeout come up there, but I thought he would double up there and make sure to end the half on a very high note. And they ended up going into the half down 1. But it is the way that they went down at half that I thought struck me a little bit. And then, coming back in the second half, to start the second half, they got out to an 8-point lead, I believe it was. And then that's the moment, right, where the great teams separate themselves from good teams and from average teams, is when you have that type of lead, to maintain it and to extend it out to where it's not reachable. And they weren't able to do that. And Auburn is not a great team, but I'll tell you about Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl, quick story about him, and I use this for my teams uh, pretty much every year that I ever had. I had the 3 Ps that I used to operate with and teach all my teams. And if we were doing these 3 things that started with the word P, we would be very, very successful. And that was purpose, passion, and poise. And I learned that from Bruce Pearl. Super emotional guy. Dude can basically sweat through 2 shirts, 3 shirts a game. He's nonstop. I was a lot like that too. And I'd be fully sweating too as a coach. But love Bruce Pearl. He's done it in many different places. He's getting max out of those guys. I don't believe they're this all world team. I don't think they're on a Duke level. I don't think they're on a Florida level, but they were certainly good enough and had enough players to make the big shots in the clutch moments to make sure to fend off Michigan. And let's just say this: what Dusty May has done with the University of Michigan in such a short period of time, he's put them on the map. Sweet 16, first year, that's no joke. He's built a program someplace else, and now he's going to do it again. And where he's at now is a much bigger program with a much bigger profile, with more money to spend. And I would expect great things to come from Michigan. Love the guy, love his program, love his philosophy, love his style. I think players love to play for him. He's a no nonsense guy. He's younger, and I think the future is ultra bright. So I would look at, if I'm a Michigan fan, if you're a Michigan fan out there, I would look at this season as a tremendous stepping stone. And Juwan Howard, I think anyone who's from Michigan, Fab Five, all of that, pretty good NBA player, lasted a long time, assistant coach on NBA benches. I think we all like Juwan Howard. But what you can see is the experience and the ability to get more out of guys, the leadership and such. There's an upgrade from Juwan Howard, no disrespect, but there's an upgrade from Juwan to Dustin. And I think you saw that instantly. It's really, really hard to implement your system that fast. Again, on a much smaller level. Before I reached the state championship, basically the state championship game at the middle school level that I was at, I already had a couple of years in the program. People had a chance to see what I was doing. I had a chance to implement it at the younger ages and a little bit lower teams. And I built something progressively, and all of those players watched. To just come from someplace else and put your stamp on it and take a big group of guys in an NIL system and in a portal system. You don't know who you have. You don't know how much money you have. All of this stuff is fluid, and all these programs are still learning. For him to do what he did, that is, I don't want to say miraculous, but it is nothing to take lightly. It's big time. And I would expect things to ascend and go like this from this point for Michigan, University of Michigan. So if you're a Michigan fan, keep your head up. Players, keep your head up. That's a valiant effort against a pretty good team that has a couple of players that can do basically whatever they want at the biggest moments of the game. And Michigan's just a little bit behind on that. You get a couple of guys, even 3 guys in that could start to do that. Doesn't have to be a Cooper Flag type of guy, but you get guys that can basically score at any time, no matter what's going on in the game, no matter the moment, no matter the defensive scheme, no matter double teams, no matter zone, man, whatever it is, they're a little bit away from that. And not everybody has that. I wouldn't even say that Michigan State has a lot of that. But Michigan State has more depth of players that can do more things. And I think we're seeing that now. Now you'll get a chance to see Michigan State play Auburn, everybody's dream in Michigan for the first time ever. Fifth time they were both Michigan State in the Sweet 16, never faced each other in the tournament, and so we'll miss that. But in a way, it's kind of interesting that they were going to play each other if they both won. Well, now Michigan State has a chance to dispose of Auburn, who Michigan couldn't do that. I personally think that Michigan State is going to beat Auburn. Schematically, that he's always been a great tournament coach, and tournament is different than the regular season. Generally you're playing teams that you're not familiar with. There's tape, right? There's film on every team to study, but it's just a just a different philosophy. It's a different structure in a tournament type setting and situation where it's basically one game in advance, one game and you're out. It's a different mentality for the players. And so the lower teams, that's why 12s beat fives and 13s beat fours and 14s sometimes beat twos in the tournament, because it's just one game. Can you step up and make plays, make enough plays? I always quote Mark Jackson, right? It's a make or miss league in the NBA. Well, it is that way at all levels of basketball. Can you make the big shots in the biggest moments, and can you do that collectively as a team, and then get a few key stops here and there? Basketball is a game of runs. Always has been, always will be. 5-0 run, 7-2 run, 9-1 run type of thing. Who can make those runs the most? Who can stop those runs the most? Coaching is a big part of that, because you can stem the tide and you can alter the momentum, so to say. Use creative usage of your timeouts in and around the 16, 12, 8, and 4 timeouts in a game. So I think Izzo is a master at that. He's terrific out of a timeout, terrific inbound. And if you didn't see Houston last night against Purdue, and that inbound play by Calvin Sampson, another guy who's been around forever and is a great strategic player. If you haven't seen that, look it up. With 2 seconds left, I believe it was, and the inbounder inbounds the ball. Typically, the inbounder will pop to the corner, and then whoever receives the inbound pass will kick it to him. A lot of times it's a 3 or just inside the 3. It's actually giving me chills right now, because you practice this over and over and over. Well, Kelvin Sampson diagrammed something a little bit quicker hitting, to where the inbounder steps in bounds just to the side of the rim. He gets it right back and he puts it up and in for the win. But one of the things to really pay attention to, and you could draw it up on a board in a timeout all you want, the players have to go out and execute it. Notice the inbounder, how he establishes, establishes 2 feet in bounds before the ball touches his hands, to make sure that play is going to count. That is tremendous execution all the way around from a coaching perspective, and then the players listening and executing. Now, that's not the first time that they've done that. They work on that all the time. It's something coaches prepare for over and over and over. But the magnitude of that moment, anything could go wrong. The defender could move a certain way. The angles could be a certain way. Maybe you can't get it in bounds as quickly as you had hoped, and then you can freeze in that moment. So look that up. Calvin Sampson, Houston, terrific inbound pass to win the game and to advance. So I expect Michigan State to beat Auburn, and probably by about 6 to 8 points in that range. Tremendous athleticism, tremendous coach. I love Bruce Pearl, but I'll give Izzo the nod there, and get them to the Final Four once again. I thought that this was interesting, and I wanted to pop this up. Speaking about Tom Izzo, one of the greatest coaches of all time. I don't think anybody can deny that. The amount of tournament appearances, the 16s and the 8s and the 4s, is basically second to none. I don't have that up here. I just have the championships up here. You can see on the screen. Um, Total appearances in 16s and 8s and 4s, he's up or very near at the top. But if you look here, you don't see him in any of this list. Obviously, John Wooden and Adolph Rupp, let's see, Henry Iba, Jucker, McCracken, Wolpert, none of those guys are anywhere in the modern era. Krzyzewski, 5 championships. I mean, just think about that. And he'd been to ones that he didn't win. Roy Williams at 3, Calhoun at 3, Bob Knight at 3, and then a bunch of 2s. Denny Crum, Louisville. I used to love him as a coach back in the day. Scooter and Rodney McRae. I'm aging myself. Billy Donovan with those back to backs. Dean Smith, of course. You would think, if you think Dean Smith and you follow basketball, you think he might have had more than 2, but no. Jay Wright, one of the young, did it in the younger years. Patino, 2 different schools, which is impressive. You can see that on the list. There's nobody else there that did it at 2 different schools. That's no joke. Danny Hurley, and he's going to be around a long time. There's a lot of people upset at what he said last week about the referees, but 2 already for him with UConn, and had a chance, to move on this year. Bill Self, another great coach, was with Illinois originally, then with Kansas, and then Izzo's down with a bunch of number 1s. In my view, to cement himself, literally to cement himself and enter this exclusive group of not many winning 2 or more. I want to see Izzo do this, and I basically think he's got this year and maybe 2 more. And again, the NIL and the portal system changes everything. Who knows how that's all going to work out? But I really want to see him get on this list. And what was it, 2000 that he won to win 25 years later? Very, very tough to do, and always been sniffing around it, but he came up short. In fact, I had said that if he lost the game to get into the Sweet 16, and they were struggling a little bit, I actually said he should basically step down, because the way, just this is just my opinion. When you're sniffing around that much and you are that good of a coach, I mean, there's a body of work, and then there's did I really win the championships? Now, not everyone's going to win 5 like Mike Krzyzewski, but if I'm being honest, and I just would say this is Tom Izzo should have more than 1 already. I think even he would say, if I had to guess, that he should have more than 1. And so when you're looking at him at 1, and you're looking at guys like Jay Wright and Danny Hurley and even Billy Donovan, with 2, he's got to get it. He's got to get 1 more to cement a different stage of legacy, in my opinion. And we'll see how that goes, and if that happens. But I think they got a great chance to beat Auburn. It's a good matchup for them, and they should be able to get to the Final Four. So I look forward to seeing that tomorrow. All right, LeBron James. I am on record. I don't understand this guy. I really, really don't. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this today. That picture that you see right there is LeBron with the greatest player in the college world right now, Cooper Flagg, about 2 years ago, before he entered Duke. And if you could see it, let me see if I can enlarge this here a little bit. Look at the shirt that LeBron James has on. He has on the Sports Illustrated magazine cover from when he was called the Chosen One. Who walks around with that? Seriously, who puts that on and walks around with it and then goes out and tells the world over and over that it isn't what he wanted, and that other people made those claims and branded him that, named that him? I mean, if you don't want that, why did you call yourself King James? Why did he go get a tattoo on his back that says Chosen One? Why is he wearing, shirts imprinted that look like that? King James is his handle on Twitter/X. It is such a contradictory story of this guy. And viewership in the NBA is in the tank, folks, and I don't think it's going to get too much better. there's actually a chance if Cooper Flag goes to the NBA and becomes that same level of impact to the NBA as he has been to college. I believe that might actually help the NBA for a number of reasons. But LeBron James picked number 23. You can't blame him for the high schools for ESPN going and televise his high school games and all the prop up and all that type of stuff. But I think he relished that. I think he enjoyed it. I think his mom enjoyed it, and he ran with it. Well, what he did is he told the world that he had one person in mind to be better than that, better than. And that was Jordan. And he wore the number and he tried to act like him. He tried to do everything like him. Well, he was on Pat McAfee's show this week on ESPN. And keep this in mind. Pat McAfee is paid by ESPN, but he produces his own show. He's not technically employed by ESPN. Why LeBron went on his show? Not sure. Pat McAfee's is different. Is a different type of show, right? It's more laid back. It's casual. There's no suits. There's none of all of that stuff. He's different from the Stephen A. Smiths in that, and so maybe that's why he did it. And he has a massive audience, and people enjoy Pat McAfee because he's kind of a no nonsense guy, and he's not programmed by Disney slash ESPN. So LeBron goes on the show for 1 hour this week. And I'll be honest, I haven't watched the whole thing. I can't even stomach it. He's hard to listen to. He's hard to watch. He walks around and he blames the world for why he is disliked as much as he is, and why was Michael and Kobe so basically praised by so many people. And on X over the last week, I kind of put this together, and it kind of struck me is I believe that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were loved by 90% of the world and of the basketball fans, and only 10% dislike them. And of that 10%, I think it was because it's exhaustion of being so good for so long. Sometimes people get turned off about that or by that. LeBron James, I believe, is disliked by about 75% of the people. And of the 25 of that 75%, I'm not sure that there's much of a percentage there that dislike him because he's been around for 20 or 21 years. In my opinion, I'll get destroyed on X when I clip this and I put it up later. It's his smugness, it's his arrogance, it's his attitude, it's his flopping, it's his chasing of rings and chasing of superstars. It's his support of China, what he said some years ago. It is things like you see this on the screen. It's tattooing that on your back. It's he sits slouched when he's being interviewed. All of this stuff. Like, how could you get up on national television this week and throw Brian Windhorst from ESPN under the bus, who has covered you since you were a young high schooler, even before that, and has been one of the biggest supporters of you your entire life, and you basically throw the dude under the bus and say these people that say they know me, they're crazy, something to that. I'm paraphrasing, something to that effect. The truth is, from a basketball perspective, there probably is nobody that knows you better than Brian Windhorst in terms of a journalist or somebody that covers the sport, not your agents and such, not your teammates and such, but that first layer outside. I think Brian Windhorst is one of those guys. And he gets up on there and he blasts Stephen A. Smith. And again, I am not a Stephen A. Smith fan. The only time that I ever was is when he worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he would pop in on ESPN for about a 3-minute segment way back before he was even known. I enjoyed it. I looked forward to it. It was must-see TV for me. Was big into basketball. I had to see it. What Stephen A. Smith has become is it's very difficult to watch. It's bombastic. It's sensationalized. It's just whatever. Not a fan. But then what LeBron did out of a timeout in the third quarter, he goes and he approaches Stephen A. Smith. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but during the game, out of a timeout, you go approach a talk show host. We won't even call him a journalist in the front row, and you make it again all about you, LeBron. Your son's championship game. You're in the front row. And you want everybody to see you. You can look at Marvin Harrison Sr., who did it with Marvin Harrison Jr. You can look at some of the other greats went up in the last row or by the door or as far away as they can get because the moment was about their son and not about them. You see, LeBron loves making that entrance. He's probably there's only two maybe that I can think of. And it's crazy that I'm going to name a tennis player, but Scottie Pippen in basketball, which had to be pretty hard to be the right hand to Michael Jordan. I tend to want to give him a little bit of slack because he was the 1A and it's pretty hard to be, a 1A or whatever you want to call it, a 1B to Michael Jordan. You're in his shadow 24/7. Can't be easy, but he probably could have handled it better. And that's when you got to see, two life coaches, three life coaches, whatever it takes to be able to handle that moment a little bit better. So I would say Scottie Pippen was a real insecure superstar. And then John McEnroe in tennis, I would say, is another where so many times it was about them. But LeBron takes the cake above all. And for some reason at 40, 41, he still hasn't figured it out. I don't even think he's like improved on it. We all make mistakes. My gosh, I got a litany of mistakes I've made in my life, and some things take longer to figure out. But you have so many people around you, so many PR people, so many everybody should have so many mentors in life. The dude can basically talk to anybody. He can call Tony Robbins tomorrow, Dr. Phil tomorrow, whoever, and ask for advice on just how to let some of that stuff go. And he just won't do it. And I've been quoted all week long on X and such is that I believe LeBron James has dug every hole before he stepped in and fell into it. And he keeps on doing it over and over. He says that Michael Jordan is going to wait until he's done to talk to him. He has talked to him just a very, very small amount. Here's the deal, in my opinion. I got no inside information on this, right? But I think you can pretty much add up, connect the dots. Michael Jordan doesn't want to talk to LeBron James. Like, why would you want to talk to LeBron James? The guy specifically targeted Jordan. He wears the same jersey number. He does the thing with the talcum powder at the scores table. He tried to not just emulate him, but imitate him. Emulate is one thing, but imitate all his stuff. Wear the same jersey. Did Kobe Bryant go wear 23? No, he didn't. He wore 8, and after he did some damage in his life, he needed to change his brand, and he went to 24. And let me just make that clear here real quick too, because Michael Jordan and Kobe also made mistakes. Kobe had his situation in Colorado with that gal. Michael had the gambling situation and forever um, rumors and tied to his father's death being tied to that, though there was no evidence to support that. They made mistakes too. They didn't do all the right things too, but they were humble. They showed humility. They were respectful of the game. And here's one of the things that I think is really important. They were respectful of those who built the game before them. So the Magics and the Birds, you go way back even before that, the Jerry Wests of the world, there's something to be said for that. And they basically handed the baton or passed the torch to Jordan or to from Jordan and Kobe basically to LeBron. And dude has basically self-destructed, talented and such. But I believe that LeBron James will be remembered more for what he did and didn't do off of the court than what his ability was and what he actually did on the court. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's something that will shadow him. It is a cloud. It will follow him forever. There's asterisks all over it, and he created it all. There is no denying what Michael and Kobe did. Michael stayed in Chicago. He could have left. He didn't. And if you want to throw the Wizards in there and say he left, dude was 38, 39 when he did it, and he took an ownership stake in the Wizards. I don't think you could really count that. Kobe had an opportunity to leave when all the stuff with Shaq happened and Shaq left. You know, Kobe stayed. There's good, bad, and different, and it wasn't always good. And it wasn't always good for Jordan too, but they stuck it out, and you could never take that away from them. And I'll close with this on LeBron. He said that he said this on McAfee's show. I could compete in any era, or I would be great in any era. I got news for you, buddy. If you played in the 80s and 90s, those players would have broken you in half physically and even more so mentally. You had to be so mentally tough in that era, in that league, at that time. I just Piston fans know this, the bad boys and Lambeer and Mahorn, but you can move around the league. Talk about guys like Barkley, lesser guys like man, I'm really going back here. Xavier McDaniel and Tom Chambers and people like that. The game was so physical. And LeBron, obviously, he has the physical composition to withstand a lot of that, but it isn't just the physical pounding that you go through, it's the mental pounding that you go through. And I lied. Go back and watch the Bulls game from the other night and watch how LeBron conducted himself on the court and watch his laziness. So there's a faction of people out there that say he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. He's not even close. He's not even in the same book as Michael and LeBron, in my opinion. LeBron had moments, chasing down a fast break and getting an unbelievable block. He had moments like that. So did Tayshaun Prince. Okay, his most famous play in the history of his career is what the block he had against Reggie Miller in a game that meant everything. I'm not comparing Tayshaun Prince to LeBron James. Okay, there is no comparison. But let's not say that the guy was the greatest defensive player of all time. Kobe and Michael wanted the best player of any size on the other team at any time, and they did it game after game, year after year, back to backs, over and over in a completely different era with completely different mentality and a very tough, grinded out, low scoring game. Say what you want about the style changes and the difference in 120 points a game versus 90 points or just trying to get to 100. That's a different conversation. LeBron does not translate to every era. Could he have played in that era? Yes. Would he be the king? Would he be the greatest? Not even close. That's just my opinion, and I'll get crushed for that. But that's fine. I don't really care. Dude has been a massive, massive disappointment. All right, Pistons. Detroit basketball is really it's really back. And last night was another example, I think, of proof of that. Um, there we go. Let's get this larger. So last night, Cleveland Cavaliers, who I believe is a top two best team in the NBA, fully healthy. Um, all their players were there. Pistons, no Cade Cunningham, and no Tobias Harris. Seven guys in double figures. And they're not just like there's one here at 10, but most of these are well into digit figures. 59 and 14 Cleveland was going into the game, and the Pistons were 9 games over 500 going into the game. And stats like this don't mean everything, but it tells a story of the versatility of a team, the depth of a team, the ability to compete against the league's best and continue to do it night in and night out. 133 spot against that team. Um, that's impressive stuff. And without one of the best players in the world, and without a good role player in Tobias Harris, that's nothing at all to joke about. As it relates to the Pistons and their seeding at this time, they've now moved from 6 to 5 seed, and as you can see, they're 17 games back there, and then a game and a half behind the Pacers. If the season ended today, it's Pistons Pacers. Where before it was 6 playing 3, they were in the 6th spot where the Bucks are, and they would play the Knicks if the season ended the other day. Now it's 4 versus 5 if that takes place. So uh, the advancement in this team is a result of this man here. This is Trajan Langdon. For those of you who do not know who he is, he was a player for Krzyzewski at Duke, terrific shooter, really nice all around player. Went to the NBA as a player, didn't have a very, long term successful career, but a career nonetheless. And then he went into front office and he was general manager for the Pelicans there for a while. And then on May 31st of 2024, he was hired as the president of basketball operations for the Pistons. And he hired JJ Bickerstaff basically a month later, almost to the day, on June 30th of 2024. You know, yes, Cade Cunningham was there. Yes, Jalen Duran was there. Yes, Jaden Ivey was there. Yes, some of those players were there. But again, to to hire the right coach to handle that group, to bring in veteran guys like Tobias Harris, like Tim Hardaway Jr., like Dennis Schroeder. These are all really, really smart, strategic moves to get a team back to like amazing competitiveness. Troy Weaver, who was before Trajan Langdon, basically, he didn't think like that. He had all sorts of young guys, and there was really nobody around them to help. And so many different coaches over and over and over and over, just basically the cycle of madness. And then you see structure now. And Gores has been at the helm of all this, and he finally got it right. I think. I think you're seeing that. I think this is sustainable. I think this is long term. Trajan Langdon was absolutely marked and wanted by as many teams that needed a person of his magnitude. Um, they wanted him, and the Pistons got him. I will tell you that I think that this is basically another version now of Sam Presti. If people don't know who Sam Presti is, Oklahoma City Thunder, my gosh, it is almost like this guy is, 6 steps ahead of everybody because he just finds a way to keep on drafting the way he does. He compiles picks after picks after picks. He knew what he was doing with Russell Westbrook and the Durant situation, the Harden situation years ago. He took a lot of heat for it, but he accumulated picks and picks and picks. And now, if you're asking me, I say Cleveland is the number 2, but I say Oklahoma City is the best team in the world right now. And I think it's a click. It's a good click to two. Um, Cleveland from OKC. OKC is just stocked. And if you watch what Josh Giddey did the other night, that's another Sam Presti draft pick. It's remarkable what he's done. So I think actually that Trajan Langdon is basically in that group. Sorry, I lost you here for a moment. Let me get that back. Um, oh boy. Technical difficulties. Where are we at here? I think that Trajan Langdon was a very, very successful hire. Big deal. And I think the Pistons are in great, great hands going forward. All right, switching it up a gear, and we're going to go to the NFL. It's the age-old argument, right? It's quarterbacks, quarterbacks, quarterbacks. It's the hardest position in all of sport, obviously. Um, it's an age-old argument. It's never going to stop. It changes too, right? From week to week, year to year. And I think this is my group here. I'll go through it one by one, and I did the top 10 NFL QBs. This is as of today, and the 5 criteria that I judge it on is making everyone around them better, leadership, decision making, ability to make every throw off any platform, and is clutch in the big moments. There's other things, many other things, but that's just 5 that I personally like to grade it on. For me, I still can't get Mahomes out of that first spot. Say what you will, think what you will. Again, I think that people are getting a little bit exhausted. It's a lot of the Brady type of thing too, just every year over and over and over, but it's not his fault. That's greatness. And it's not going to stop, folks. He's going to keep on doing it. They're loaded up next year. Rashee Rice back healthy, and if Xavier Worthy, hopefully he didn't do what he's accused of. Apparently, there's lawsuits going on now on that assault claim against him. We'll see what happens on that. But if they come back anywhere near what they were, he's going to be right back there again. A lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I think that Josh Allen is number two. Uh, I know he hasn't won the big one yet, but he's number two in my mind. All world can do everything. Joe Burrow, number three. Again, hasn't won everything, but for me, he's in the three spot. Jalen Hurts now has won at the highest level, and he's really, really, in my view, improved and impressed. He's now able to make every single throw under any situation. He can tuck it and run, move to his left, move to his right, nice touch, drop the ball in the bucket. 60, 65 yards downfield, or a 20-yard in cut or in route, and lace the ball right in there. So Jalen Hurts is clearly number four for me. I will get torn to pieces on this. I have Justin Herbert at number five. And look, I'm on record a million times over about my thoughts about Jim Harbaugh, his style of offense. Um, he believes that Justin Herbert is a Hall of Famer already. I happen to agree with him. I mean, the dude is one of the greatest talents of all time right now. And I believe he's maybe regressed a little bit in that they don't have a lot of weapons there. It's basically Lad McConkey, okay, and pretty much nobody else. Quentin Johnson can't catch a cold. Will Disley is Will Disley. They had Jordan Palmer. The running back situation has been basically null and void since he had Austin Eckler, and Austin Eckler was a great player for him to have. It's J.K. Dobbins was last year. Now he's gone. Now they went out and got Najee Harris, and in my opinion, it's one slow plotter after another. It seems like in Harbaugh's mind, Gus Edwards, he had J.K. Dobbins, never been the same after the injuries, in my opinion. Basically, one and done with the Chargers. Now it's Najee Harris, who is another plotter, is not an explosive type of back in any way, shape, or form. It's that short yardage goal line guy. I mean, he can get you 6, 7, but he's not an explosive guy. And I would like to see them get, some legit weapons around Herbert. So he's still a work in progress, but I have him at 5. Everyone in the world knows that I never liked Matthew Stafford, but I got to give the dude his credit. Okay, he's doing it, and he's doing it at a high level. And he's not the reason that they're losing. And I was actually happy for him, and I was happy for the fans, the Ram fans, that he signed up. He was toying around going elsewhere. A lot of money was thrown around, but I thought that the Rams were in a position to go back and compete strongly. Proper coaching staff in place, a lot of the right personnel. You knew that they were going to lose Cup, and they did, and they replaced him with Devontae Adams, and then of course Puka Nakua, who's fast become a top 10 wide receiver in football. And Stafford can still do it, man. He can still make all the throws. He still makes a lot of those critical errors. But I mean, when you're thinking about the open market or trading for somebody, I'm a bigger fan than most of Geno Smith. It was the right move for the Raiders to do that, in my opinion. But when you're considering guys that another team would trade, would you rather have Matthew Stafford, or would you rather have Geno Smith? Would you rather have Kyler Murray, who I'm not a big fan of and don't think he has a whole lot to offer, or do you want Matthew Stafford even at his accelerated age? With that team, with those players, with that coach, I think that that's Matthew Stafford in the 6th spot. Jaden Daniels, I have elevated to number 7. I was on record last year in saying that Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback coming out of the draft. That proved to be right, and it's actually helped the PB brand that I was able to nail that one. I thought he was better than Caleb Williams, better than Drake May, and I had JJ McCarthy as the 1B or 1A, and we didn't get a chance to see it, but now we will. So we'll see how how JJ works out. But Jaden Daniels, I have at number 7. I'll get torn up for this too. I'm sorry. I cannot put Lamar Jackson in anything above number 8. Honestly, the guy makes error after error in the biggest of games. If you're looking for a quarterback that has 43 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the regular season, I mean, that's fine, I guess, if you like that, but that's not how you judge a great quarterback, in my opinion. I never understood why the MVP in any league is determined before the playoffs are considered. That to me, it makes 0 sense. So Lamar Jackson is never going to be judged long term, or even in the short term, in these fantasy or Madden type numbers that he puts up in the regular season, because it's a whole different season and he continues to make the big errors. You can blame Mark Andrews all you want. There's 7-year history now of Lamar Jackson not getting it done, and he's been a developmental project that's taken a long time even to get him at this point in year 8. Now you could argue that there's some quarterbacks that it takes 8 years to do it. But the next guy I'll talk about did it in basically, he had a sophomore year, was a bit of a slump, but guy was already doing things that Lamar Jackson can't do today and was doing it in his first year. Jaden Daniels, who I have ahead of Lamar Jackson in his first year, is doing things that Lamar Jackson can't do. Lamar Jackson was a running quarterback, and they tried to convert him into a pocket passer. And I'm not convinced that he can do it in the biggest games yet. And until he does, he's not in my top 5 or 6 or 7. And sometimes it's hard for me to keep him in the top 10. My criteria is just a little bit different. So CJ Stroud, yeah, sophomore slump, lost Diggs beginning of the year, lost Tank Dell later in the year. Everybody has injuries. I got it. Uh, but they were really void. Nico Collins was out a few games. He's got all the tools. He's got the moxie. He's got the toughness. Boy, does he have a great attitude, man of faith. I mean, he's just a great teammate and possesses all the skills and the ability. I would expect him to rise up the list before too long, uh, probably this upcoming year. This guy right here, Bo Nix, I have at number 10, and he's ahead of a lot of guys like Kyler Murray, like Jared Goff. There's Geno Smith. There's quite a few guys that you could make Caleb Williams, as a lot of people would say. I don't agree until he proves it. Bo Nix hit the scene, hot and heavy. I was also on record. It's on the same video as Jaden Daniels. I said that Bo Nix was going to be an incredible NFL quarterback. And I said Peyton, when we found out that 2 days after the draft, when I did the recap video, Bo Nix with Sean Payton he's going to be better than Drew Brees, in my view. Barring injury, he will be better than Drew Brees because he has other abilities that Brees never had. He has I would say, submit a stronger arm. He's more mobile. He was a later quarterback arriving in the NFL. Had the extra year of eligibility, and it's just the dude is going to rise up this list and could be in the top 7 or 6 in this upcoming year. The addition of Evan Ingram was huge. Another year in Peyton's system. Maybe the guy was doing what he was doing as a rookie and took them to the playoffs. What, 10-7 is what they, off the top of my head. I don't have a teleprompter, guys. I really don't. I'm going off of memory here. So if I'm off here and there, I apologize. But 10-7 go to the playoffs and performed admirably, and not all the tools yet around him. I mean, you're talking Devon Vale and Troy Franklin and Mims, and some of these guys are his second and third and fourth targets. Judy's gone out of there, and Javonte Williams was in the backfield, McLaughlin in the backfield, but now they've added Evan Ingram, and that, holy cow, that is a perfect fit. Think Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham, except Bo Nix and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram he's more of I would say he's closer to a wide receiver than a traditional tight end. And I know that the tight end position has evolved and changed, and it's a more athletic version. It's not the bigger guy like a Gronkowski. Was never the fastest of foot, but dude could get it going. Evan Ingram can run every route. He's quick, super quick out of cuts. He can actually extend the field 30, 40, 50 yards downfield. I would actually, and I hate using this name for obvious reasons, but I would say he's in the more in the Aaron Hernandez type of mold, and he's even faster of foot than for Lions fans, faster of foot, I think, than a Sam Laporta type of guy. So those are my top 10. I like I said, I'll take a lot of heat, but Mahomes and then Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts at 4, Justin Herbert at 5, Matthew Stafford at 6, Jaden Daniels at 7, Lamar Jackson at 8, CJ Stroud at 9, and I think he'll rise up, and Bo Nix at 10. I think that he will rise up as well. So, we'll see how the upcoming year happens here, but I truly believe that that's, at least in my view, that's accurate. Tons and tons of people do not agree with that, but that's why it's fun to talk about it, and it's great to disagree. It's no problem. I wish people would calm it down a little bit on social, but it is what it is. All right, so this week I thought I'd end with an interesting story, and I don't say this for any reason to be any kind of braggadocious or anything like that, or look at me. That's not why I'm saying this. I have a separate division where I do mentoring and I do some counseling for players, and even have for some coaches, and giving advice on different circumstances and situations, motivationally and technique and mindset and things like that. I had camps for a lot of years. Um, but this one I share is interesting for a few reasons. Um, in 2015 was my last year of coaching, and it was at the high school level at my alma mater, Warrenwoods Tower High School in Warren. And out of there, I came out in July of 2015. As you can see here, Mike is in the picture there, my assistant. And all of those trophies that you see there were all won that year. We had an extraordinary year, 25-5, um, rolled through the tournament and got to the CYO state championship and came up just short against the mighty UAD Jesuit. If anybody's familiar with the Catholic League in high school, UAD Jesuit is always there. And we were playing the grade school level of that, where all that talent comes up and goes into the high school level. And when I was at St. Anne's there, the last time they had been um, in that game was 2001. It hangs in the banners there in the gym. Was I believe 2001. So it had been 14 years. I had been with the school a couple of years, and that was my goal, was to get to that number one varsity level. There was varsity one, varsity two, and varsity three. I started at three, went to two. Varsity three was comprised of the best seventh and eighth, or the seventh and eighth graders that didn't make the one team. The number two team was all seventh graders, and then the number one team was the best of either grade, seventh and eighth graders. Usually mostly comprised of eighth graders, but there were some seventh graders there that were there as well. So it was a super productive year. But for anybody that knows me in the past, I want you to take a look at me there and see if I can enlarge this just a little bit. I am a shell of my former self. Uh, about 6, 7 years prior to that, I was walking around at my highest point of 259 and a half. In this picture right here, and this is July of 2015. This is at one of the camps, or excuse me, July of boy, that's July of 2014. I have the wrong date there. My apologies. That's July of 14 at one of my camps. And I'm basically 175, maybe 180 pounds. And as you can see in my face, my neck area here, I'm unhealthy. I was neglecting myself. I had Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, and I just was a mess. If just for me to get through a practice was very difficult. For me to stand was very difficult, and I just kept on doing it. And I enjoyed being skinny after being heavy, if I'm being honest. And That was what the result of it was. So then in October, we go through all those championships. That's the summer of 2014. Yep, summer of 2014. Then in October of 2015, you see the date there. This is the team picture of the freshman team of Warrenwoods Tower. You can see me there, second coach on the right. I'm still the same, very very thin. The pain is even worse. I basically can't move, and I know what a dumbass. I don't recommend it to anybody. You get yourself in a health situation like that, do not mess with it. I messed with it, and what do they say? FA, FO, F around and find out. That's what I did, and I'll show you that in a second. So this is the beginning of the year. Is let's see here. Uh, that is July of 15. That's correct. It is July of 15 is that picture. October of 15 is this team picture. Okay? And then in March of 16 is this picture. Or excuse me, boy, man, I got my dates all screwed up. Yeah, March of 16, February, March of 16. This is me on life support. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And then this is me the day that I come home about 3.5 weeks later. So why do I bring this all up and show you the health situation I was in at that time? Because it's relative to what I'm gonna share next. So while I was with this team at the freshman level, there's your JV level and there's your varsity level. And in high school, you are coach at each of the three levels, but many times you're integrated together as a collective group, and it's all hands or all teams that have Saturday practices together. With the idea being that the freshman learns about the JV and the JV learns about the varsity, and you're cohesive and you're learning plays and you're developing, and this is extra time spent away from your team's day-to-day practices during the week. And so we're nearing the end of the season. So this is October. That picture is October of 2015. And then in March of 2016 is the end of the season. We varsity team went to through the division and lost. We don't have a postseason at the freshman level, and then we have our end of the year bowling banquet. That is a traditional. Warrenwoods Tower did it traditionally year after year for many years. It would be a bowling banquet where representatives, all three teams, all the coaches, guests, family, parents, I think as well. And so I'm a competitive guy, right? And and there's one thing that I could do throughout all my years of basketball was I could shoot. I was a 5-time free throw champion and a 3-time 3-point champion, but I couldn't do really anything else. I was smart on the court and I could think through the game, but boy, was I slow. I was never in great shape. I couldn't jump, but about a piece of paper with up off the floor. But one thing that I could do is I could shoot the lights out, and I would just practice relentlessly for hours and hours and hours on end. And I grew up in Detroit, and we didn't have cement in my basketball net in the backyard. We didn't have cement. We had grass, and played over and over and over on the grass until it became dirt. And you might think that that sounds crazy, but it actually helped me a lot in that when you're dribbling in one motion and you're trying to shoot and the ball doesn't come up where it's supposed to come up, where you're taking form to take a shot, it taught you how to take a ball from crazy angles, right? Not that, let's give a nice chest pass and get it in motion and in rhythm. So I grew up not having that rhythm, and it made me a better shooter. And plus, I would just do it for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. So in in that October of 2015 time frame when that season started, um, I was basically 42, about 42 years old. The JV coach was about 32 years old, and I think that the varsity coach was maybe 30, 35 years old. So I was the old guy. I was of the head coaches. There were some assistant coaches that were younger. My assistant there, Tyler, was much, much younger than me, 3 years out of high school, I think, or 4 years out of high school at the time. But I was the old man of the group. And so you're this older guy, and they see you shooting in the gym and at a reduced state. I actually still found a way to shoot well, but I didn't have the stamina. I didn't have the energy, and it hurt. It literally hurt to jump off the floor, and then again, not jumping very far off the floor. But let's say I was jumping off the floor, I don't know, like this when you come down, and I was always wearing low tops, which didn't help. In that impact, it just the muscles and the joints and everything gets all screwed up from hyperthyroidism. So we're at that bowling banquet, and I think I wasn't buzzed up. There was no. I'm not a big drinker in any way, shape, or form in the high school years. Yeah, of course, but I wasn't hardly drinking. I maybe had a couple drinks, but I was the coach, and you're on your best behavior. Well, it got late in the night, and I think that the JV coach might have had a few too many, and him and I were competitive. He knew that at some point I had aspirations to have his job, and so that was that was sibling there, I would say. And he played, with the teams after practice in highly competitive scrimmages, and I couldn't. There's no way that I could do that. It was impossible. I was that guy. If you wanted me to stand in place and do set shots, boy, I could help you, but I didn't have much more to offer than that. Well, we got into this debate, myself, the varsity head coach, the JV head coach, myself, the former varsity coach, and about a handful of others, and we were circled up over at Sterling Lanes, I think it's called now. It used to be called Arc Sterling on 14 and Shaner. For those of you in that area, that's where the banquet was. I would say it's probably 12 o'clock, midnight, somewhere in there, 11:30. It's cold as hell outside. There was a little bit of snow outside, I remember. And the next morning we had an all hands practice, freshman, JV, and varsity. And that I believe was 8, maybe 8:30. And so it's kind of late, right? And we get into this conversation about a shooting contest. And I was in my mind is like, you going to challenge me to a shooting contest? I'm good with that. Let's do this." And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, can you actually do this? Can you actually do what's being proposed here, which was a 3-point contest around the world? Um, and then I believe 2 shots from each position, which equates to, off the top of my head, don't quote me exactly, but it's either 30 or 35 shots. And you could be in the greatest condition that you possibly can be in, and you have a time clock, just like you see in the 3-point contests in the pros or college or any other level. It's like you have a time frame to get this done, and the most you're going to go one set for one guy, one set for the other guy. Whoever has the most wins. This is what's being talked about at the bowling alley, and I say, I'm in, dude. And not only am I in, I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you bad. And the old man in the gym is going to show you and everybody else what I already know, is that you're not as good as a shooter as I am. And it's bantering back and forth, and it's fun, but then it's like it's getting into some more. And I was never a trash talker. I'm still not. I don't like to trash talk. I can't stand watching it on TV, but we were pretty competitive with each other, and we were trash talking pretty heavy. And I was probably the greater aggressor, because I was like thinking, all right, I got to mess with him mentally here, because he's just younger than me. He's in way better shape than me. He can do way more than me. He'll be able to have way more stamina than me. So I got to gain this mental edge, and I really got to f with his head a little bit. I do truly think that I can beat him, but I really got to go and extend it out and extend it out. Right? Every war is won before it's ever fought. Right? I'm trying. Mike Tyson would come down the aisle, and the dude in the ring would already know he lost, right? The music, and he's coming in with the towel and no socks and just the black shorts and black boxing boots and psyched people out. Go back to Michael Spinks in '85. Dude was looked like he just saw 17 ghosts. So I'm thinking this way. I'm thinking the psychological edge. I got to do this. And then, all right, it's 11:30. I'm going to turn around and got to be at the gym at 8 or 8:30, whatever it was. So we get it all set up, and the varsity coach he's going like this. He's like, I'm going to enjoy watching this. He's not participating in it, but he's going to oversee it with one of the other coaches. They're going to have the whistles, they're going to have the stopwatches, and it's all. I got the chills again, man. So the next morning comes, and we have the automatic shooters. Everybody is going through, getting warmed up and stuff, and you have the automatic shooter with the net and practicing, and the ball kicks back out at you and all of that. And so immediately I'm like, all right, it's going to be early. I got to get to this machine, and I got to start getting some shots up, right? I did some off on the side with a couple of the players, and then I said I got to go to this machine and I got to move around, type of thing. And it wasn't going well. I was very off, and mentally now I tried to psych him out, but I'm psyched out too. And it's like, what the hell, bro? You just opened your mouth and you put yourself squarely out there, and now everybody's here. Then I find out that the varsity coach is going to split everybody up by vote. So there's 40 players, I would say, 12 to 15 a team. So we'll call that 40. And then you have all the coaches, and there might have been a couple of periphery people in the gym. And he decides, and I didn't know this, it wasn't talked about the night before. He says, we're going to split out. You're going to raise your hand if you're with Coach C, or if you're with Coach Paul, you're going to raise your hand. I'm like, holy shit. So, guys are getting on the side, and they're like, hey man, so, like this. And I say to my guys, right? And then my closest guys, I knew all the players, right? We were all a tight group. And I say, all right, who you got? I'll let you know, coach. I got to think about this. I'm not sure. Now, these are freshman guys that aspire to play for the JV and the varsity team. You're going to go stand and vote against, your coach, to go vote for the other. And so you think about, all right, it's all in good fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, how am I going to go stand for my current coach when that could be my coach? I want that to be my coach. Or how do I go away from my current coach and go there, and then he's going to have nobody? So we go through the shooting. I'm still off, guys and gals. I'm not doing my normal self. I'm hurting. I'm putting up a lot of shots, so I'm getting tired. And then this contest is going to be before any of the practice starts. We're going to do this first. That was already told. That was already explained. And we flipped the coin, and I lost. So I had to shoot first. So the pressure's on. So then they go through, split up the groups. Who's for Coach C? Who's for Coach Paul? And I would say it was 2/3 was with Coach C, and 1/3 was with me. Now, this is the end of the year. So people always saw what the other coach could do, and they saw and knew, everybody knew that I could shoot. And I would do things, before, during, and even after practice. And so they saw it. But could I muster this up in this moment? And could I do that many shots around the world, basically, with a clock in front of everybody? The pressure's on. You're at this weekend state. You're 42-ish years old, and it's like you opened your mouth, and now you got to deliver. All right, here we go. This is the moment you live for, right? I'm never going to be a pro, never going to be a college player. I'm way past any decent prime. And so it starts up, and I nail the first shot. And I'm like, okay. Go to the next one. I hit the next shot. All right, I got two in the bank pretty quick. And then here it comes. Now I can already feel the moment. I could already feel things starting to hurt, literally, right? Because I already put up I probably put up a couple hundred shots, I would say, prior to that. Not all in quick succession, but a couple hundred shots. Late night, the last night. I'm old, and I'm already turning some gray and all this type of stuff. And I probably missed 3 in a row. And then I start hitting a couple. It's 1 in a row, 2 in a row, 3 in a row. And I hear the varsity go, coach go, oh boy. And, you come down after you get to the baseline and you have one shot. And then before you can go again, you got to hit the second shot. And I nail both of them. And I'm quiet. I'm not saying anything. I'm not trash talking. I got to get through this and I got to perform. Now I'm really getting tired and I'm gasping, right? I get more towards the top of the key as I'm working my way back around and I'm pushing the ball now, right? I'm literally bringing the ball very low to develop enough strength to get it because I'm just gassed and my health condition is just not it's not allowing me to do it. And I hit another one, and I get to the last the final shot on the baseline, and I remember trying to push that up. I might have even airballed it. I was totally gassed, totally out of breath, and I believe it was I might be a little bit off, but I think it was 14 out of 35, which for me that's not good. And I'm thinking, all right, I didn't really set the bar too high. I got 14 of 30. It was 14 to 32 or 14 of 35. And again, uncontested, I would do more than 50% with ease, even under speed in the younger years, much more than 50%. So I'm thinking, man, he's got me. And I'm going to keep my mouth shut, right? I have planned this. I am not going to say anything. All I said, I handed him the ball. I go, your turn. Good luck. And I kind of walked along the side and I was so gassed and so out of breath and sweating profusely. I sat up. If any of you tower guys watching, where you had the mat that went up against the wall, like the wrestling mats, but it's against the wall for a player that's running and has to stop and doesn't run into a brick wall. I sit down right underneath that and I'm watching. And he starts up and he starts off cold. And then he starts and he hits three in a row. And he screams out to all the people on his side and he says, tell him what time it is. Now I'm like, Jesus, I can't stand that type of stuff. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. No, no. Then he starts clanking. Boom, 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 boom. He's coming around. Boom. And he hits, one, two, three in a row. Great rhythm. And by the way, he's got the Nike gear. He's got, I think he had a sleeve. He's got the knee brace on. I mean, it's played up to the nines. Dude looks like he's about to come out the locker room and go and play in the Olympics or something. That guy, he's just got to have all. He's got to look like the younger players. He's got to be one of the guys type of thing. Man, I got a pair of shorts and I don't know what kind of stupid t-shirt and I got low tops on. I didn't care. Let me just win this thing. He's coming around. I'll show you what time it is. And he get that, and I'm like, all right, he's got like 5 shots left, and he's got to hit three to beat me. Boom, make, make, miss, I think. And then, no, it wasn't even that. Bottom line is I won. I had 14, he had 11. And I walked up to him afterwards. I shook his hand. I said, nice job. And then I think I said, this is where maybe a little bit of trash talk came up. I said, you done talking now? Is it you yell out to those guys and tell them what time it is? I said, they probably shouldn't have heard that. And then it actually got heated. Now the varsity coach is calling, he's calling the players into session, we'll say, into formal drills. And him and I are off on the sidelines over by the bleachers, much like what you see in the picture up there. The bleachers were closed like that, and we're basically going at it. I go, listen, man, you ran your mouth. You ran your mouth last night. You ran your mouth all this morning, and the old man just beat you. What are you going to say? And then one thing led to another, and I said, why don't we go into the locker room? Let's not do this here. We go into the lobby there, if you all remember where the locker room is, across from the coach's room or the wrestling coach's room, to where we're out of view and we're going back and forth and back and forth. They got heated. We ended up shaking hands, but after that moment, everything changed in our relationship, and so I bring this up not because I won or because I was a good shooter. at a time. It is that I had everything going against me. My age, my health, I was out of shape. I was not playing in scrimmages like he was. I would run my team, and then in certain drills and such, I would talk about form, technique, release, follow through, things like that. And so I'd get into like a shooting rhythm, before practice and a little bit after practice. But I wasn't in the formal scrimmages and stuff, and everything against me. And I thought to myself, I want to do this. I just want to test myself. And so for me, it pushed me, it motivated me, and it really truly was more about me and could I do it versus could I actually beat him. That was part of it. But it's like, could I step up in this moment as the older guy, and could I perform in that moment still? And and I say it because it would have been easy for me in my mind to say, there's just no way that I'm not even going to enter a conversation like that. But I wanted it, and I wanted to prove it to myself first, and then of course I wanted to beat him. Still am a super competitive person, but you know, everyone thought I couldn't do it. Like legit, everyone thought in that bowling alley, and most of them in the morning, I would say it was more of a token. I want to stand over here with coach, but I really think the other coach is going to win. I believe that. Maybe a couple of them thought it, but not as many that stood on my side. And so it's just, that no one thinks you can do something, and can you do it? And what did it take to do it, right? I understood that I needed to win a game with him first before the actual event, and I could do that psychologically by breaking him down a little bit and preparing for the moment and trying to win the battle before, or win the war before you even go in and compete. And that's a huge part of it. Preparation for a game and how you conduct yourself and all those types of things are as important in anything. Same in life, right? Same in business. What you do before the actual execution matters just as much as the execution. So, getting there early, I was the first one in the gym. I would say I had a key to the gym, and I'm in there by myself. I beat everybody there, and I knew that I needed to get some shots up, and I needed to get a lather going. It used to be joked about in the young years. As soon as he breaks a sweat, and I think that's for anybody. That wasn't unique to me. As soon as you break a sweat, you're in it, right? You're same with boxers, right? You got to break that sweat. They come in and they're dry. People say they came into the ring dry. That's bad. It's going to be a slow start, and it's true. You got your glands are operating, everything's operating. You got your body temperature up, and you're ready to go. And for me, it was a great story of never quitting when I had every reason to quit. And that picture I'll bring up again. Um, so this takes place in basically, let's see, October of 2015. Um, I'm sorry, March. Man, I get these dates somehow up here are screwed up. That basically ends in March of 2015. That banquet and that shooting contest ends up at March of 2015. And then because I didn't take care of myself and the horrible condition I was in, I end up in this position in March of 16. So that's how close I was to the end, and nearly lost my life. So every reason not to take it on, I took it on, and I won in that moment, and overcame. So it's a story that I wanted to share that speaks to, you can always overcome something even if no one believes in you, or people doubt you, or you're not supposed to succeed, or you're not supposed to win that certain game, or you're not supposed to make that shot. You might not be in perfect condition for certain moments, but if you believe in you, and you have confidence in you, and you have confidence in your own ability, the most amazing things not only can happen in your life, they will happen in your life. And sometimes it will shock you at how far you can actually go, and how far down the rung or down the ladder you think you are, that you can actually perform at levels that you maybe not everybody else or most other people thought you couldn't perform or couldn't achieve or couldn't accomplish. You actually can. And I just wanted to share that because let that be a lesson, especially in today's world. So many people will knock you down, will tell you you can't, you won't, you're not, it's not possible. It'll never be you. It's always somebody else. It's going to be somebody else. It cannot be you. And then some people fall victim to that. I've had, oh my gosh, there's other stories that I'll be telling soon enough where a lot of people told me I couldn't and that I wouldn't and that what are you doing? And I asked myself that night at the bowling banquet, what are you doing, man? Like you really put yourself out there and now you go and flop. I mean, so that's part of life, right? That's in a game, that's in a fun moment, but I put myself out there and I set the bar and the expectation high for myself and I needed to rise to the moment. And if I lost, I lost. But the point of it was that I was up to it and that I would prepare for it and that I would give myself the best possible chance to do it. And not every outcome is going to be the same that way. Not every outcome is a win. Not every outcome is a loss, but out of every outcome is a life lesson. Is a moment to say, that I did or I can or I will, right? The I can do this or I will do this. The difference between the two is night and day. I will do this. I will step up. I will rise to the occasion. I will, outperform. I will do my best. I will work to be better, whatever that is. And for me, that was a interesting moment in my life. And when I nearly died, some 8 to 10 months later, and my doctors, when I see him today, is like, "You were this close, man, this close." He says it all the time. I got to see him 1 to 2 times a year. He says it. You're one of my greatest stories, and I was blessed. I was lucky to have another chance at life, and that is 2016, and we're in 2025 now. And so life is short. We don't ever know when it's can be taken. Many lives are lost well before they're supposed to, and live each moment believing in you and what you can do and not in what other people think you won't or can't or shouldn't do, because everybody's got an opinion and they're not always good ones. And in this world it seems like more people want to tear other people down than they want to lift people up. I have a very, very good friend in my life. He just sent me another book yesterday. um, I have it here. I haven't read it yet, but I definitely want to dig into this. I just got it yesterday. I want to read into that, and that person has always believed in me for who I was, and always believed in who I could become. And he's 62, 63 years old, and still believes me in that way. And I'm so thankful for that. So if I helped make a difference for one person here on this video in that regard, don't sell yourself short and don't let anybody else sell you. You be you and you do what you do. You focus on you, take care of people that are close to you, but believe in you even when others won't. And the sky is the limit if you do that. Don't ever fall victim to the fear of failure or what other people say. That's all I can, and I'll end it with that. So if you like what you saw today, please follow and like on my Facebook page at PB Sports Talk, here on X at PB Sports Talks. Also, my PB Mentors division is coming back to the forefront. It was on kind of on the back burner. You'll be able to schedule time with me via video, via text, or via email. There is a price for that. I will cover things all through life, business, and sports. I think they are all interchanging. Um, if you're really good at one, you can be really good at others. And I feel like I have some value to offer there. A lot of life experiences I've been through. PBmentors.com. That is within my website, pbsportstalk.com. There's a section on there with PB Mentors. It has my 10 life laws. There's a few videos up there. I have a lot of material that needs to get up there. And you'll be able to connect with me on Minect and schedule time. To discuss your situation. Maybe it's a text that I could respond to and potentially give you some advice. And it's just that one thing that can click. I don't have it all figured out. I don't have all the answers, but I surround myself with people and mentors as much as I can, close and afar, that maybe it's just one thing that can make a difference in my life. And if I've done that today with at least one person, then this has been a success. And I hope to continue on with the PB brand, or I will continue on with the PB brand, both on the sports talk side and the coaching aspect of that, the mentor side. And I've got a lot of other things stirring up behind the scenes that I'll share more as I'm able to. So, everybody have a great weekend. Again, good luck to Michigan State tomorrow against Auburn. Congrats to Michigan, University of Michigan, on a great season. And everybody have a great weekend. I try to say it after every show now. Hug someone, hold someone, love someone. It means a lot. Have a great day, all. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.